Welcome back to Open Line, talking about national politics. Happy to have with us Vanderbilt political science professor Thomas Schwartz. So we've been talking several things, and we've had a couple of calls about changing the Constitution, and that's been interesting. Phil called earlier, and I believe Phil is calling back. Are you there, Phil?
I'm here again.
All right, go right.
Yeah, I'm here again.
What did you want to add, really kind of quickly?
I wanted to ask another question.
All right.
Why is it that it's so difficult to change the Constitution when times do change? Just like guns, abortion, things like that. Why is it so hard? Why can't they come to agreement that times has changed? You don't need an AR-15 or AK-47 to go hunting.
Right.
Why can't they be put in place so we don't have these problems like you have now?
Okay.
Everyone.
All right. Well, I feel like it's the same question you asked, but now you've added a little more detail. So he's talking about guns, right? And that's tough. You know, the essential question is, it's the same thing we just said. The Constitution wasn't meant to be changed on a whim,
right?
But I guess that kind of encapsulates what some people feel.
Yes.
And especially on those issues. Electoral college is one, guns is another, and I guess some of the others. Is that the way this is going to change, do you think? Is it going to be changing the Constitution?
Well, the guns issue is more complicated because there is room to interpret the Second Amendment less absolutely. And for a while there was this notion that the Supreme Court might find that the right to bear arms is connected to militia service, that it can't be separated. Now, the court actually did strike down laws that barred any possession of firearms in certain areas. So they did uphold the Second Amendment for the idea that you should have a right to a gun. The question of AR-15s and these more advanced guns could be legislated and could be challenged in the court, the same way as states have challenged some of the abortion restrictions. They would pass restrictions, for example, about notification, and that would go up to the court. So even though both abortion and the right to bear arms have been legitimated as constitutional rights by the Supreme Court, that doesn't mean that they can't be affected by legislation that might serve to restrict or regulate those rights. Now, again, that's why the Supreme Court battles over the Supreme Court have become so intense, is because whether justices are strict constructionalists or originalists, as it's known, or if they're more leaning toward an evolutionary view of the Constitution that Phil was referring to. And that's why those battles are so intense now, because they rule on issues that matter to a lot of people, that matter a great deal.
Yeah, and how that's interpreted. That is interesting. And then what did you think of Beto O'Rourke? In that most recent debate, said, yes, he wants, it's a buyback, isn't it? He wants to buy back guns, a mandatory buyback? Is that what it was?
Yes, although he put it in a way that sounded like the government's going to come and just grab your guns, which is the nightmare of the NRA and of a lot of Second Amendment people who believe strongly in the Second Amendment. It obviously, if you watch the debate, you know that it got a strong response from the audience. They loved it. They're Democratic partisans, but it may have not been as politically astute. It might have, in effect, polarize the issue even more, and also confirm to some that you can't have any step on gun control because it'll lead to confiscation. So there are some people who support gun control who think he went too far because he damaged the ability to get more moderate gun control because of that, encouraging the fear that it'll mean confiscation.
He came in, there was a lot of attention given to him, and he's kind of he's not in the lead at this point, so we kind of needed to make a big splash, and that was, he did. He made a big splash.
Certainly made a big splash, yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back, basically wrap everything up. Be back right after this.